Isn't it just really wild how good Lucas Raymond is? Like, man, I have to try to make an excuse every time he does something to start talking about him again, because everybody just kind of recognizes, okay, this is probably one of the best players on the Red Wings, and historically speaking, just the magnitude of what it is that he is doing is so grand that every time he does something, there's always some new stat or this other crazy comparable that we can make that makes it so much bigger than just scoring a goal or getting an assist or getting however many points Lucas Raymond has on the year. If you didn't realize this guy, he's a teenager, he's 19 years old, he's playing in the NHL, he's an undersized right-wing player, 5'10", 183, and he's just under a point per game, 21 points, 22 games played. He had been making history the entire season with all the points he was putting up, and it was made even more grand when, against the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday, he scored the overtime winner. It was kind of a funny game because the Buffalo Sabres actually tied it late. It was 2-1 Detroit, and then all of a sudden Jeff Skinner, with like 2 minutes left, gets the goal to tie the game. And it was Nyquist actually who tweeted, "Oh, how great for the Buffalo Sabres to tie it just for Lucas Raymond to win it in overtime." And guess who scored the game-winning goal 20 seconds into overtime? It was Lucas Raymond. He's got a crazy wrist shot, doesn't he? Like, out of all the goals that he has scored, he's scored a few of them. A few of them have been really good snipes, a few really nice bang-ins in front. He's had a few goals where he absolutely just wrists it 5-hole on goaltenders. And this is a really interesting kind of skill set because it's one that you don't really see all too often, and one that is utilized as proportionately as Raymond utilizes it within his game. The 5-hole snipe. It's not really the most common thing in the world, but hey, Lucas Raymond has that really good ability to drag it and shoot it 5-hole where goalies aren't expecting it. I love that about his game. Who knows if heading into the future that's going to be something that sticks around because goalies might have to scoop, oh, this guy likes to go 5-hole, watch the 5-hole, keep your stick there in the 5-hole, because we know that's kind of why the sophomore slump even happens for a lot of these rookies, because their second year in the NHL, there's a lot more scouting, there's a lot more video footage of these guys, and it makes it a lot easier for NHL teams who are playing against these players to say, okay, this guy in his rookie season, he did a lot of this, so go ahead and guard that. But when it comes to Lucas Raymond, he had himself the overtime winner against the Sabres, and yeah, you want to talk about that comparable that everybody likes to bring up? Here are teenagers to score overtime goals in Red Wings franchise history. Obviously, Lucas Raymond is one. He did so on Saturday against Buffalo. The only other time a teenager has scored an overtime goal for the Red Wings was on October 26, 1983. And that was Steve Yzerman. You know what's kind of funny about that game? That game was also against the Buffalo Sabres, and that game was also one where the Buffalo Sabres tied it with about a minute to go. It's really strange how the parallels work out over here, but you know what? It is what it is. The Buffalo Sabres, my goodness, they have a really storied history of getting scored on by future Hall of Fame players that play for the Red Wings. Man, it's just kind of crazy. Even the goals that tied the game. Jeff Skinner at 18:23 of the third period ties the game up 2-2 to go to overtime. And then in 1986, it's Mike Ramsey at 18:57 to tie that game, assisted by Gilbert Perreault. He actually had 3 assists in that game, so good for him. Oh, he also had 2 goals. My goodness, what a legend. So, Steve Yzerman doing the thing in 1986, Lucas Raymond doing the thing in 2021. Very good to see. But we also had another piece of news about Lucas Raymond that I thought was really interesting that we're actually making a video about here today. Sorry about the intro, by the way. I know everybody was like, oh, Lego, just get to the point. You spend 4 minutes building up this talk about Raymond just to talk about nothing. We already know what's going on here. Take a look at this. It's an article on Sportbladet, which is one of the primary sport news outlets in Sweden. Garpenlöv's miss. They did not include the successful Swede. Now, what does that mean? Let's go over and read the first paragraph here. Tre Kronor's national team, which is the Swedish team, the team captain Johan Garpenlov has selected 55 NHL players who are relevant for their Olympic team. Sportbladet can now reveal that the NHL's successful player Lucas Raymond, 19, has not been a part of this team. Thus, there is great risk that Detroit's king of points will not be selected for the Olympics. The tweet from Chris Johnston kind of summarizes it in a nice way for English readers. Long story short, Team Sweden, they didn't include NHL rookie Lucas Raymond on its 55-man long list for Beijing Olympic consideration and anti-doping control. He's now one of Sweden's most productive NHLers, and the Swedish team has requested exemption from the IIHF to actually allow this guy to come over. Let's read parts of the article over here because it's translated from Swedish into English. By the way, it will be in the description, the link, so you can go ahead and read this if you are fluent. The Beijing Olympics, which will be decided in February, are fast approaching, and the idea is that the hockey tournament will once again be decided with NHL players. However, it is still not 100% decided, and therefore the national team captain Johan Garpenlov has picked out 2 preliminary squads, one with NHL players and one with players in Europe. In the preliminary NHL squad, there are 50 outfielders and 5 goalkeepers, but the hottest Swede in the NHL this fall, Red Wings' Lucas Raymond, is, according to Sportbladet's information, not among the 55 names that they have reported. Thus, the risk is imminent that the former Frölunda forward cannot be selected for the Olympics. But now, the Swedish Ice Hockey Association has applied to add additional players, something that is confirmed by competition manager Olof Ostblom, who is also team manager for Tre Kronor. When asked if the team will be allowed to take out more players to the preliminary squad, Ostblom answers, "Possibly. We have asked the question to the IIHF without a definitive answer. Do you know anything when they have to give answers? Not right now." Lucas Raymond has taken the NHL by storm. The Swedish forward has accounted 21 points in 22 games. He leads Detroit in points, and when it comes to the entire NHL, there's only one other Swedish player, Elias Lindholm of the Calgary Flames, that has more points than Raymond. And so, when it comes to this, the idea that the Red Wings' young star was not included on Team Sweden's preliminary roster for the Olympics and thus might not actually get a chance to play, assuming they don't get that exemption, it doesn't really surprise me. Like, I'm gonna be honest here, I didn't really expect Lucas Raymond to be as good as he is this season, and neither did you. We had so many comments in our videos heading into the 21-22 season. "Oh, Lucas Raymond is good. If he needs some time in Grand Rapids, then give it to him. Oh, I'm not expecting him to make the team. I'm expecting Seider to make the team. And Seider to be the Calder runner-up. I expect Seider to do all these good things. Lucas Raymond, if he makes the team, then great. But he actually has to be really gosh darn good to make the team." That was the same kind of sentiment that a lot of Red Wings fans had in our comments, and Raymond has taken everybody by storm. Not just me, but you as well, Steve Yzerman most likely, as well as Jeff Blashill and his wife. It's why he made the team, and it's why there was such a big deal going on with Blashill as to whether or not he would make the team after preseason. Raymond last year was just a regular guy in Sweden who didn't have too many opportunities and as a result wasn't really seen as this top-tier prospect, or not prospect, he was seen as a top-tier prospect, but just he wasn't seen as a top-tier forward at the time. He had an opportunity to start breaking onto the Frölunda club in a top 6 role, but once he was given that chance, hey, the guy got injured, so he was really unlucky in the way he was seen in the Swedish spotlight last year. And as a result, you know, when Team Sweden is forming up their preliminary roster months in advance, because teams have to do that, when they see a guy like Lucas Raymond, they don't see the guy who is going out there with however many points it is in however many games in the NHL. They see the 34-game played, 18-point guy from last year who got injured, who wasn't really able to show himself off the right way. And so now it's been a few months after these rosters had to be constructed, and now they're looking at it saying, okay, darn, we made a mistake. We left off the second most productive Swedish NHL player from our roster, and we left him off because he's only 19. We left him off because we didn't see this coming. We left him off because we didn't think he would be this good. So, for Red Wings fans, let me know in the comments what do you think about Lucas Raymond and this entire thing over here. Do you want this guy to go to the Olympics? I know the answer. Everybody wants this guy to go to the Olympics. Everybody wants this guy to suit up amongst his Swedish peers and show off to everybody that he can be a top-line producer for Team Sweden, despite the fact that last year for Frölunda he wasn't given any opportunities to do so when he actually was healthy. So, talk to me in the comments. What do you think about Raymond and this entire thing with Team Sweden in the Olympics? I hope you enjoyed this Boucher 99. And bye.